Welcome to Accelerating Operational Performance. I'm Greg Schenkel, President of Unique Training and Development and Frontline Leadership Systems. And today, a special edition episode of the podcast. And I'm going to cover off the 5 mistakes plant managers make in their very first year. 5 mistakes plant managers make in their first year. You ready? Mistake number 1 that plant managers make in their first year is thinking short-term versus long-term. Right? So short term means I'm looking at today, this week, maybe this month. And long term means I'm looking out a week, a month, a quarter, maybe even beyond a year. And in your first year, it's kind of like, think about how someone learns to drive a car, right? If you've ever had a teenager out trying to teach them how to drive, or you remember back to when you learned how to drive, the tendency is when you're first learning how to drive is you're overly concerned with looking just over the hood of the car. And therefore your driving is really lumpy and bumpy, right? So to smooth out the driving, you have to look to the horizon. You have to lift your eyes up. And as a plant manager, even in your very first year, you need to start looking at to where do you want this plant to be, right? And if you're still involved in the day-to-day troubleshooting and problem solving, that's actually a form of decision-making waste. In case you're going, decision-making waste, what's that? Well, I'm going to refer you back to our anniversary episode, our 50th episode of the podcast, and also back to our Plant Manager Excellence program. It's a concept I think you'll really love. But in order to break that mold of decision-making waste, you need to actually build up your team to take care of solving the problems and running the business every day. There's an adjacent challenge to this first mistake, which is thinking short-term versus long-term, is you're thinking about how you have to solve all the problems and dispense all the answers. And we don't want you to do that, right? You need to build your team's capability to solve those problems on their own. Even if you got promoted based on being good at problem solving, you need to build the capability of others to do that. So let's think long-term and not short-term. The second mistake that plant managers make in their very first year on the job is they tolerate fuzzy accountability. They tolerate fuzzy accountability. Now, you know, in the Plant Manager Excellence program, one of our modules is accountability gaps and overlaps. So if it's unclear who in your team owns an outcome, you need to clarify that. You need to plug that gap, because if there's a gap, guess who owns it? You do. So when you think of the kinds of issues that escalate either up to the management team meeting or for you to solve or you to be involved in solving, that usually means that the accountability isn't clear. Now, I'm not saying you have to be totally difficult about this. I'm just saying it should be really clear on all the key outcomes that will drive the vision for your plant, who owns the outcome. And make sure it's not multiple people. You need one person to know that they own it. Now, again, our general manager, Kirk Langford, just did a great episode of Leader Feeder that you can find in the catalog about accountability. And I love the way he frames it. It's just knowing what the outcome is that you're responsible for. Because a lot of people focus on their activities and their actions, and they don't think about the outcomes of what they're doing. It's the outcomes that make us money. Yes, the actions are important. Outcomes are important. So mistake number 2, tolerating fuzzy accountability. Crystallize that accountability. It helps things run better. Mistake number 3 that plant managers make in their very first year as a plant manager is to view lean as a toolbox and not as a culture. Dum, 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 dum. Some of you may become a plant manager coming up through the continuous improvement or lean or high-performance manufacturing value chain or operational excellence. And you're going, what do you mean? Like, what I'm saying is take an honest look. When I've asked executives to take an honest look of where their organization is at on the lean journey, you know, almost every organization looks at the Toyota Production System, TPS, as being the marquee. And yes, your company probably has developed its own version, Company X production system, right? But I want you to think about the industrial maturity of your team. Are you still fighting with 5S and just, you know, basic lean techniques? How much money have you put into lean activities versus the output? And how much do you even tolerate machines running way below what they were designed for? So I know it sounds like I'm berating you a little bit, but just realize that lean is a culture that you build. And you don't do it just by picking through the toolbox for your favorite lean tool of the day, right? You get people thinking about lean and continuous improvement as a journey. So if you want to, of course, you can really deepen your thinking by looking even deeper into lean and the Toyota production system. Our colleague Videsh Subramanian, who's a guest on this podcast, he said, look, if Toyota is about 70% congruent with its own culture, which that'll be shocking to some of you to think it's only 70%, but it's a big company, right? And then you go, the average manufacturing company is probably lucky to be 10 or 15% aligned culturally with the lean philosophies. It's just something to focus on as a plant manager. Remember, you're thinking long-term, not short-term. So mistake number 3 is to view lean as a toolbox instead of a culture. All right. Mistake number 4 for new plant managers in their very first year on the job. Mistake number 4 is that they love machines more than they love people. Now, I got to tell you that even though I'm not an engineer or technical specialist, I still think that I can solve some of life's problems by downloading a new app, right? Or buying a new piece of software. And in the plant world, in the manufacturing world, it's really like, oh, I'm going to buy this new robot, this piece of automation. Again, great idea to look at automation and technology. I just need you to refer back to a lot of episodes with AOP. And it's really to think about, it's really about the people, right? I know machines are really cool and going and seeing them work and envisioning how they're going to solve your problems. I just want you to put that same love and attention into your people, right? We sign up for preventive maintenance on our machines, right? We would never dream of having a bunch of capital equipment and no maintenance technicians to work on them and keep them running. But with people, we kind of like, we hired you. You're good to go. Oh, we'll do one course maybe every few years and you're good. So a plant manager learns to love their people more than their machines because the machines don't know if you love them or not. You don't have to show them the affection, but your people need to know that you love them, that you're there to take care of them, that you want to bring them up in their capabilities. And by gosh, think about training and developing your people and presenting new challenges as like preventive maintenance. Right? You're investing in your people to help them grow in their capacity and their capability. That can't help but run your business better, right? So mistake number 4 is that the new plant manager loves machines more than people. Learn to love your people more. All right, that brings us to the 5th and final mistake that plant managers make in their very first year of employment. Drum roll. And it is, they are heroes and not coaches. Heroes and not coaches. Now, in our leadership progression model, we say that frontline leaders often, they start as buddies, just trying to make everybody happy all the time. Then they grow into being a supervisor, which is not really a title, but a function where they learn to accept their leadership responsibilities. Usually, if you've made it to the plant manager level, you're at least at the hero level, flirting and dancing with being a coach. So let me talk about those 2 layers in this model. And by the way, you can always search the leadership progression model. A hero basically solves all the problems. So you as the plant manager are like, hey, guys, if there's any problems, just bring them to me. Before you know it, you've got a version of our leadership trap that we teach in our frontline leadership course. You're responding to all these escalated problems, and you probably don't pause to think, my gosh, why is this problem ending up with me and not being solved by someone else? I coined the term Heroic Measures Index, HMI, and I want you to think about this. If you think it's a badge of honor to get called on nights and weekends and when you're on vacation because your team can't fix problems, not that I don't want you to feel bad. I'm trying to empower you. I just don't want you to see that as a badge of honor. I want you to see that as a sign of waste and that there's an opportunity, a tremendous opportunity to build up your team's capabilities. If you dispense answers all the time and you're the hero of the operation, you're never going to be able to pull yourself out. You're never going to be ready to take on the next role as a director. You might say, hey, I just want to be a plant manager my whole career. No problem with that. But be the kind of plant manager that builds up a team that becomes self-sufficient and awesome. I think if every leader viewed their legacy as leaving behind people who are as good or more talented than they were, I think it would be awesome. So now, what does a coach do? So I said the mistake is thinking like a hero instead of a coach. A coach primarily makes heroes of their team. So as a coach, you feel good because and I should point out, remember, coaches don't like throw on, a pair of skates and a stick and go and score goals during the game. They might do that in practice. If you want they're not putting on a jersey and shooting baskets in the middle of the basketball game, right? The coach has to be on the sidelines watching the team perform, make observations, give specific feedback, look at what coaching and drills and training is needed to elevate the team's performance. But they can't do the work that the team does. And so if you think like a coach, your job is to, instead of you being the hero, it's to make heroes of your team. And when you do that and you get the satisfaction of seeing your team deliver the results, you're well on your way. So we've been covering the top 5 mistakes that plant managers make in their very first year on the job. And if this resonated with you, I would recommend that you check out our Plant Manager Excellence Program. It's your chance to join in with plant managers from other organizations. And I will say this, that one client recently said, hey, I can't send everybody to this plant manager course, but I'm planning a one-day management offsite for our plant managers. Could we cover a few topics? And the answer is yes, right? So talk to us, because the leverage that your plant manager makes, that you make if you're a plant manager, it's just extraordinary, the leverage that you have in your leadership role. And our job is to help you make the most of that. So this has been the 5 mistakes that plant managers make in their very first year. Of course, we're here to help you. If you've made those mistakes or you want to prevent making those mistakes, we're here to help. And it all starts with a conversation on our website at uniquedevelopment.com.